Here you are, an activist on huge important topics. I know you're from Bangladesh, but you're currently living in New York City in the US. So I know that you have a big social media following and you try and get the message out. And there are so many things that make you really awesome, I think, and what you were standing for and what you were doing. I think particularly people will be struck that you are a young person, only 10 years of age, and fighting a large fight, but also that you're a young woman who's doing this. Faatiha, you are a great example of raising your voice. And congratulations on the organization that you run, Child and D. Continue all the great work from Bangladesh, living in New York in the USA. We know that we're going to hear so much from you in the future, and we're delighted that you're partnering with us on World Cleanup Day. Now, we are so excited here on the World Cleanup Day show to talk to my next guest. Faatiha is 10 years of age, and here she is. Hello, Faatiha, how are you?
Hi, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How are you?
I'm very good. And by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
You just turned 10 not so long ago. How does it feel now to be in the double digits?
Feels good. Like normal.
Like normal, not much different to be 9, but still, it's kind of cool. You run an organization called Child and D. What does it stand for? Why did you set it up? I have so many questions for you.
Okay, Child and D means climate, health, information, learning, and development. And I try to raise awareness about mostly climate, but also about child rights. And I myself am a child rights activist and a climate campaigner. So I try to focus on these topics and actually raise my voice against different issues. And Child and D has been with me along the way, and I've been actually contributing and trying to make Child and D go to its next step.
Wow. Faatiha, when I was your age, when I was 10, I was still learning to tie my shoelaces, and it wasn't going that well. Here you are, an activist on huge important topics. I know you're from Bangladesh, but you're currently living in New York City in the US. Why is this such an important cause for you? Why are you so passionate about this?
Okay, so it all started from my early childhood, because I used to a lot of the books. Like, for example, in the morning when I was going to school in my car, me and my dad used to listen to the radio, and we used to hear a lot about the world news, a lot about the climate. And my dad started talking with me about this like an adult. Also, when I went to sleep, like before I went to sleep, we used to listen to BBC. And after that, my mom used to talk with me about the news too. And listening to this and talking to this about this with my parents, I actually realized that a big issue became the climate change, and I began to actually kind of research about it by myself. But this was just the beginning. Then in 2019, when I was in Alaska, with my parents, I visited Alaska and on this cruise ship, and I saw that icebergs were falling from glaciers, causing the sea level to rise. So actually witnessing that with my own eyes was pretty depressing. And I realized that the low-level countries would get submerged. I realized that because of this climate change issue, a lot of destructions would happen later on in the future. And it's actually happening right now. I realized that climate refugee became a good topic in the table of discussion for our world leaders while they are sipping into the bottle of mineral water. Now, I demand them to stop playing this dirty card of politics and to act in favor, like immediately, in favor of these vulnerable people, because the extreme conditions and the bitter experiences that the people all around the world are facing will soon affect all of us around the world.
It's not just the few; it'll affect everyone on the planet. And Faatiha, when you said you went and you saw those icebergs, bits breaking off the glaciers, falling into the ocean, so that had a lasting impression on you. That really had an effect on you.
Because I witnessed it with my own 2 eyes, so seeing that actually kind of, yeah.
So what are you trying to do now to make a change? Because you're still in school and you have so many things to try and squeeze into your day. So I know that you have a big social media following and you try and get the message out. And the message you're trying to get is that we need to act now, not in the future, not down the road. The time is now. How do you find your messages being received by people? What kind of reaction are you getting?
Well, alhamdulillah, I am actually getting a lot of support, not only from my parents, but from all of my viewers all around the world. And I am actually very happy because each person makes a difference. And if I can actually raise my voice and actually encourage others to work for this, then what will the others be? And if, like this, all of the people, or most of the people, come together and actually work against this, it will be against this climate change and work against it and raise their voice against it, would be very good for all of humanity. Yes, I am very glad that I'm receiving a lot of good support and a lot of not only from my parents but from all around.
And there are so many things that make you really awesome, I think, and what you were standing for and what you were doing. I think particularly people will be struck that you are a young person, only 10 years of age, and fighting a large fight, but also that you're a young woman who's doing this. And sometimes it can be difficult for women of all ages. We talked about this earlier on in the show with one of the leaders from Kenya, for women to have a voice in different parts of the world, in Bangladesh, where you're originally from, for other young girls who are watching you now, who follow you on social media, who are passionate about change and want to help the environment, and they see what you're doing and they think it's really awesome, they want to do it too, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would like them to actually, if they want to raise their voice, obviously there's no reason to be shy. There's no reason to do it. I think social media is not the only platform to raise your voice. If you can't do it on social media, or if you don't want to, then you can even talk about it at school, at home, or even in your community. Because I believe that every school and every class should have a regular speaking session, like a public speaking session, where they should be able to actually raise their voice about this climate and global warming issue. Because now the issue has rose so highly that not only the adults but the youth have to speak against it too. We see a lot of good paperworks like the Paris Agreement, the Kyoto Protocol, the Cancun Treaty, etc., etc. But these are only on paper, and our world leaders seem to be happy with this. They're not doing actually like any action. So I demand them to actually stop any action that causes hindrance to combat the climate change. And because me and my generation have no choice, we have to raise our voice against this, because now it's become such an extreme situation that even the youth have to talk about it and raise their voice against it. So I encourage all the young girls and everyone around the world, not just girls, that you can talk about it at home, at school, and even in religious institutions or community centers. Talk about this with children. You can't talk about it on social media. Talk about it in your community. I mean, that's a perfectly good example to set, and I am giving advice that you should all try to raise your voice whenever you can and however.
Faatiha, you are a great example of raising your voice, and congratulations on the organization that you run, Child and D. Continue all the great work from Bangladesh, living in New York in the USA. We know that we're going to hear so much from you in the future, and we're delighted that you're partnering with us on World Cleanup Day. And thank you so much for being on the show. Have a lovely day, Faatiha.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure.